Hi, this is Rick Harsh. This is my booktube. I was going to do this elsewhere, but then I thought, why do I have a booktube if I can't tube a book? Let me just try to find a Sharpie knife thing. Look at this. This is the official Corona Samizdat knife. It's a Spanish knife, and no one's ever been cut by it, but it's really good at cutting tape. And if you're not careful, you'll go right through to the books. And then you start to send it to someone, and then you look at it and you say, would I want to get that book that's got a knife sliced through it? Yes, I would. But maybe this person doesn't, and so you can't. What I'm doing right now, as I warm up, is I'm showing you the new books we got. This one deserves and will get its own booktube. Roberto Arlt's classic 7 Mad Men Flamethrowers. Two halves that are finally united historically in one book with lots of great front matter. And I just got done mailing a bunch of them. And so now I'm putting more on the shelves from which I take books that I'm mailing. Oh boy. These are big, so the boxes I get fit 10. These are the same size as this, our bestseller. And I'd show you the other one, but it's selling a bunch. And so I don't have any close. I have some up there. Oh, what the hell, I can reach that. Come on down. Okay. That. A Bended Circuity. That's selling pretty well too. And speaking of selling really well, pretty well and really well, this is selling about as much as a Bended Circuity. Zach Tanner's Oscar Submerges. And what's really great about that is that he's also got this, which is selling almost as well as this. This is Some Features of Living Matter in the Neighborhood of the Sun. Love this book. The feel, the artwork, and the book itself. Who needs that? You got a nice little book for $10 and shipping, which is a pain in the ass, and I hate it as much or more than you. Sorry, but it's the way it goes. The good thing about this is you can slip it in with say this, and there's no extra postage because it weighs very little. About as much as a feathered rattlesnake. It's an inside joke. Now, the other book we got is Suggestion Diabolique. If you know our press, Corona Samizdat, I have a habit of saying, yeah, we'll publish that. And then, I'm called the chief editor, so then I have to edit the book, right? No way. I am not going to edit the book, and I tell people, we'll publish your book. We'll do everything we can to make it the way you want, to make it look the way you want it to look. David Vardeman wanted this photo. A woman from Ukraine who lives here, her husband did the other paintings that adorn the Vardeman books that we have. And now his wife adorns this one. She makes fabric things. She made a giant Karl Marx head that she took around Europe, actually. And, she does these diabolical bunnies as well. So the author, David Vardeman, says, he'd love that on the cover. And then in a case like this, where he doesn't really care besides that, he knows that we'll create a good book. Great paper. It feels so good. And Zach Tanner takes it and says, what can we do? Got to put the bunny there. No room, got to put the title. We got to put the name. And then he chooses colors and designs and spines. I didn't actually like this at first. But then Vardeman himself said, I love that. The cover and everything, the colors, it goes with the high camp that is part of his writing. These are the 5 stories in the book. The first one is called Hjornholm, Hjornholm. And it's when I was reading it, I thought, this is the best Vardeman I've ever read. And I love Vardeman's writing. So, wow, must be pretty good, huh? And that after a while, I realized that aside from writing a very funny, absurdist story, he was mocking Dan Brown. It's the best satire of a Dan Brown type book that you'll ever read. Maybe the only one, I don't know. I think there are people who mock him without meaning to. Let's see, if Dan Brown can do it, so can I. Well, Dan Brown's good at it. I mean, he's a terrible writer, but he's good at writing garbage that people can keep reading if they don't think about the quality of the writing. Another one was John Grisham, who was really, although he was a better writer, he did not aim to do anything but what he did. So when people would say, something about John Grisham, I'd say, well, there are brick buildings and there are brick architectural marvels, but there are both brick, or both types are brick. So anyway, that's Hjornholm, and it's a novella. These are mostly novellas. A little bit longer. Hjornholm's about 100-some pages. The next story is called Corn, and after reading Hjornholm, I thought, okay, there's no way that he can top that. And I was right about Corn. Corn was excellent in a Vardemanian way. They were Vardemanian characters. They thought Vardemanian things. You're always caught off guard, and things are surprising. You can never predict his characters. They can't predict themselves, it seems. And that's one of the joys of reading him is, the characters themselves are often just completely befuddled. When he's in first person, it's interesting to see how he does that because, it's easier to write befuddled into a character if you're the omniscient one. But if you're the character, then you have a big question to ask. Does the character know? And either way, it's funny. It's a kind of irony, classical kind of irony when, the audience knows but the author doesn't. But when the author knows, there's still that same, it's kind of a residue of that same irony. And because knowing it doesn't prevent it. And so the comedy is there for the exploiting. And Vardeman does that extremely well. Corn is about what all you can do with corn and more. It's a mother-daughter relationship, and well, you gotta read it. It does have a bit of a surprise ending. It's a kind of novella as you go along. There is a serial killer stalking the stalks in the town, farm town, probably in Iowa. Although Vardeman wasn't only in Iowa as a human. He was also in Kentucky, and now he's in Maine. I won't tell you his address, though, unless you ask nicely. So anyway, Corn, yeah. And, so I thought, man, I am really glad that I'm reading this book, and I'm glad we published it. I knew it would be great, but it was already greater than I would have imagined. Then I reached the longest story, which is Easter. I don't know if you can read that, but just trust me, it's Easter. And not today, but the book, the third story is, novella is Easter. And it was and is the best Vardeman I've ever read, and probably the best short story I've ever read. It is relentless, and after you go maybe halfway through the story and the characters are still at the bar, and you realize what a masterful work this is, because given what he gave himself to start with, he could easily have had them in and out of the bar in 1 page, 5 pages, 10 pages, but it becomes the kind of story that is really examining a character and a situation. And where he takes it from there is just stunning. It is incredible. It's the way that he ended it, the last 20 pages or so, was so surprising and so bizarre and so great that I need to read it again to laugh more, because it's really funny, but you're just so in awe. It's really, at this point, I don't think I've ever read a better short story. And now, novella. Luckily, we can cut it and say novella. In our pocket format, it's 120 or 30 pages, but if I had to compare it to novels, good Lord, I don't know. It's so good. Comparisons are useful to a degree, but it creates frustration as well. I have never read a better short story in my life. I've never been so affected by one, just in awe, literally in awe of it. The next one is called Salvation of the Fittest, and that, like Corn, is a Vardemanian masterpiece, but it doesn't do what the first and third did. It doesn't make you stand up and say, Vardeman, what have you done? This is great. It makes you say, yeah, that Vardeman, goddamn, he is one of a kind. And then the last story, Zeitgeist, is a very funny, witty story that is the point of which is a secret. Even when you read it, you'll get some points from it, but it has a lot to say about language and a lot to say about assholes who use language and think too much of themselves and too little of others. It's in the secret way, it is a masterpiece. In the non-secret way, it's just a great Vardeman story. So you got 3 great Vardeman stories, 1 incredible Vardeman story, and 1 story that's as good as I'll ever read in my life. Thanks. This is Rick Harsh, Corona Samizdat. Wow, what a book. Glad I decided to publish it. Don't even have to think twice when it's a new Vardeman.